Hello. Good evening, and welcome once again to QI, the reality show where four people are held in a queue until one of them becomes interesting. Clive Anderson, Phil Kay, Johnny Sessions, and Alan Davis. Now, first of all, you have a special project, members of the team, and that is to draw and colour in, if you so choose, a wigwam. And as this is Series B, we'd like you to do it in the style of artists, beginning with B. So, Clive, if you do it in the style of Botticelli.
Ah, yes.
Phil in the style of William Blake. Johnny, you're rather good at drawing, so in the style of Braque.
Right. Okay.
And, Alan, I don't need to tell you that you'll be Bosch. So, that's your task. You want Miss Bosch? Painted scenes of hell.
Did he?
Yeah. You don't really have to do it in the style. Any old wigwam will do.
Any old. Really?
Yes, go on.
Thank God. I didn't know what I was going to do then.
Now, in case you need to be excused, you need to attract my attention. Clive does it like this. And Phil does it like this. And Johnny does it like this.
Oh, I know, sir. Sir, please, sir, I know.
Alan does it like this. Well, I'm glad that you went before you came. Now, you all know me.
Yeah.
I'm one of those Johnny jump up, meet me in the corner and tickle my fancy types. Right? So what am I?
Sir, I know, sir.
You're the sacked lyricist for Lindisfarne. Because those were the original lyrics for Meet Me on the Corner, that hit of 1972.
Does sound like it.
Yes.
You're a hoarder of many hyphens.
I am a hoarder of many hyphens.
You've almost got them all. Yeah.
I can add that I'm also a love idol.
Are these fishing flies at all?
They're not fishing flies.
Are they roses?
I'm also a meet me in the buttery. Or kiss me in the buttery, occasionally called.
Are they types of flowers?
They are, all one type of flower, also known as pink of my John. I'm not making it up.
Carnations?
No,
Tulips?
No. Johnny
Pinks.
might get it because there's a Shakespearean reference. The flower
Yes.
that men do call love in idleness.
Ah, yes. Some dead men's fingers call. It's in Romeo and Juliet.
No, The Dream.
The Dream.
The Midsummer Night's
Ah,
Dream.
yes.
Come
Oh,
back,
can't
you've all
see the
floated up like in a balloon above it.
All right. Yeah. So it's a flower. It's called Kiss Me in the Buttery, Jump Up, Jack, Tickle My Fancy, Love in Idleness,
Does it
Heartsease, Pink My John.
Oh, yes. And Dale Winters.
So what am I if I'm all those things? I am a
Pansy.
pansy. Yes! I am a wild pansy.
You are.
And there are more folk names for the wild pansy than for every other flower. The word pansy actually comes from the French penser, as a thought.
Yes.
Or an idea, because they're supposedly good for the memory. Pansies.
Eating them? Can you eat
Well, yes, indeed. A refreshing tea, which is supposed to be good for the complexion and clearing phlegm, can be made from pansies.
And yet Pascal's book, Pansies, didn't sell very well, did it?
No, it didn't.
Well.
It didn't. No. One person in the audience knows that Blaise Pascal wrote a book called
Sir,
Pensée.
I know, sir.
Yes, there were 200 at the last count, 200 names for the wild pansy.
God.
That was, of course, a question about botany. So your next question is, what is bottomry?
It's the opposite of topiary. Topiary is that thing where you take...
Very good.
You take a... topiary, is, as you will know, Steve, is you take a tree or a bush or whatever,
Yes.
and you shape it into a beautiful shape.
Absolutely. You do.
An animal or something like that.
Yes.
Well, bottom is the opposite thing. When you see a tree, well, that looks a bit like a horse or something, and then you cut it back to look like a wild tree. It's not much fun, to be honest.
Sir, I know, sir.
There's another argument for it, that it's the website in Tokyo for all the Japanese men who are crazy about Virginia Bottomley. And they go, Bottomley! Bottomley!
Bottomry. Would it help if I said the bottomry is exactly the same thing as bottomage?
Ah, that's what it is. This is... I know what this is. Was it in France or was it somewhere, Droit de Seigneur, when the sort of local lord had a right to have his evil way with any girl or milkmaid in the village? Well, if you were a minor sort of lord or a baronet or something, you had a right of bottomry, which was just you could just slap them on the bottom. That was all you were entitled to. That's it. No more than that. In a nice way, if there is such a thing, which I deplore. And I would... No, these days, absolutely forbidden. But
Forgotten.
yeah, forgotten.
No, bottom being a ship in this case.
A ship.
It's a sort of mortgage, really. You mortgage the ship in order to raise money to go off on a trading voyage or merchant venture.
Yeah, they call it ships bottoms, don't they?
Ships
That's
are called
the sort of
bottoms
load,
in the marine commerce world.
Because there's a line in Henry V, one of the chorus, before they set off for France, where Shakespeare talks about them drawing their bottoms through the water. He's referring to the ships, not to the soldiers.
Excellent. Now, next
Yeah.
question then.
Yeah.
So, what did Buffalo Bill do to buffaloes?
Sir, I know, sir.
I don't actually know the answer to this, but what I do know is that my grandmother was born in 1875, and she saw Buffalo Bill and Annie
Down the
Oakley.
shops.
No. Well, she might have done and not been aware of the fact.
She saw his Wild West show, did she?
She saw his Wild West show at the Kelvin Hall in 1892.
That's the sound of an arrow hurtling
Yeah.
towards another. I hope I've got the right drift on this, because I think I can see a trap on
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
The American buffalo isn't strictly speaking a buffalo; it's a bison.
You're
So he did nothing with.
Yeah, absolutely
so-
spot on.
Yeah.
Indeed, they are He should have been called Bison Bill.
Yes,
they're
yes.
not buffaloes, or even related to the two kinds of buffalo that exist.
But at a sort of philosophical level, which I know you like to operate at, if something is called,
I agree.
If they are called buffalo, it's like the Bayer tapestry, strictly speaking, isn't a tapestry.
Yeah.
But it's the only tapestry, or thing, if it's embroidery really, but it's the only one we've ever heard of. So
Yeah.
if you say, well, that isn't a tapestry then, well,
I
it's
know.
which lose. So
Yeah.
these are the
fuck
only
is a
buffalo
tapestry?
we've ever come across, and they're not
Apart
buffalo.
from water buffalo, if you're in the
Water
in
buffalo,
Asia,
yeah, or in Africa you see buffalo.
In Africa, you see buffalo.
My wigwam is...
A bison's got two hearts. I was in the city of Buffalo when I heard of the death of Elvis Presley.
Well, it should have been the city of bison.
It should have been.
Yes, there's a buffalo and a bison.
That's the buffalo on the right.
Look how low its ears are really low down.
Aren't they?
Look, they're well below the eyes.
It likes
right
to keep,
by the nose.
It likes to keep its ears close to the ground. It's,
They really, its ears are there.
Why is the one on the right wearing an advocate's wig?
Yeah.
but he killed a load of them. I
He
mean,
killed an astonishing number. In 18 months,
Buffalo
he
Bill
killed
did.
4,280 bison.
Yes.
Or
Why?
buffalo. Well, he used to work for the Pony Express as a boy. And this is a rather good letter, or that advertisement the Pony Express took out.
Arkle used to write for that.
Yay. This is the ad. Wanted, young, skinny, wiry fellows, not over 18. Must be expert riders willing to risk death daily.
You wrote that.
It goes on. Orphans preferred. Wages $25 a week. But anyway, that only lasted. It only lasted 19 months, the Pony Express, because of the railways. And the Kansas Pacific Railway needed food for its workers, and so they employed Buffalo Bill to kill bison, or buffalo as they called them, to feed the construction crews for the
But in
railway.
dances with wolves, they just kill buffalo for fun.
Well, the Native Americans, the Indians, whatever you prefer to call them, they used to lure them over cliffs, which was their way of killing a lot. They used their hides and they used their meat, so it's not as if they killed
But
them
they'd
just
only
for
lure
fun.
exactly the right number that they actually needed to
No.
feed the tribe.
No, they didn't. Don't have that sentimental view of them as if
And they
we're
were-
nasty human
they
beings, but all
never-
Native American tribes are peace-loving
We
philosophers.
were all like drunk and badly behaved. They'd never lure a pregnant one over.
The way they lured them over was to cause them to stampede, and once they're stampeding, they all go
no, when they had
mindlessly.
enough, then they'd go over and go, "Hey, let's stop!"
I think, no, it was that moment when's the stampede over? You know, you're stampeding and then you're not stampeding. You know, that nice...
Yeah.
It's when you've hit the ground at the end of the cliff, then you know it's over.
Stampede's finished.
If you're at the
cartoon
front of
moment.
the stampede,
Yeah. Do you
you've got to
dictate
keep
it?
stampeding
Yeah.
because everyone behind's stampeding. If you stop, straight over.
May I assist come to the aid of the hippie party here? Because although these buffaloes, you know, or bison, as they live quite happily with the American Indians eating a few of them, killing a few of them. And then they were got rid of, and they replaced them with cows. And the cows have caused, you know, a dust bowl in that part of America.
no
Twice now.
Yeah.
But now they're discovering the only thing that can really satisfactorily live there are these bison. So they're reintroducing bison.
And crossing them with cattle, in fact.
Well, what do they go up to in their private life?
From 60 million bison in the 17th century, they went to just a few hundred in the late 19th century. They're now about 50,000. I'll read out the next question. Buffalo Bill's famous Wild West show included a famous Native American chief, Sitting Buffalo Bull, who, of course, defeated Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn. But what was his real name? Do you know?
Bison. It worked for the last question. Well, they're always named after the first thing that the score sees. when
Two
she-
dogs. That's the joke.
I was going to let the audience think that for themselves. Well, Buffalo Bill, although he had to kill thousands of buffalo or bison in order to acquire that nickname of Buffalo to go with the rather dull name Bill. So, but old Sitting Bull, all he had to do was sit around a lot
Hang on
and
now.
talk,
Bulls
rubbish like
don't
this.
sit. Do they?
Ferdinand did.
Ferdinand?
Ferdinand?
Ferdinand the Bull.
Oh, yes, so he was...
Used to sit under the cork tree smelling the flowers.
and then a bee got into it.
Yes, he got stung by a bee and then he was...
Yeah.
What? It's a book. It's a book that you happen not to have read. It doesn't make us mad because...
Because the bee stung him, he ran around like crazy. And they thought, oh, he's a fine bull. Then they got into the bull ring or whatever.
It's a children's classic. It's a very beautiful book.
What's it called?
Ferdinand the Bull. Yeah.
In it, Ferdinand forgets to take his drugs test and is disqualified from the bullfight.
Exactly.
But don't bulls sit down when it's going to rain, don't they?
Yes, supposedly.
Yes,
that's
very much like cows.
So they have a dry patch.
Yeah.
if you like. If you like. Well,
Standing cow, he was called.
actually, he was called Jumping Badger. That was his given name. He acquired his father's name when he was a teenager. His father was Sitting Bull. And because he'd done great exploits, he'd killed his first buffalo-bison at the age of 10. And then he took part in a raiding party on a Crow Indian settlement, which is a great hero, and his father gave him his name, Sitting Bull. His mother was called Her Holy Door.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
There were rubbish at names in that family, weren't there? The Sitting Bull was scarcely OK, but Jumping Badger. Why, Dad?
Why am I called
There was a film character, he was very popular with your mother.
Now, who made Pots and Pots from Bill and Ben? From Bill and Ben.
Sir, I know, sir.
I think it's somebody like, dare one say...
You do Bill and Ben now.
Yeah. Is there someone like Greg Dyke or Michael Grade?
Well, yeah, in fact...
Yeah.
Do you know?
I don't know who it was, but I mean, Greg Dyke did the rat thing, didn't he? So
Roland Rat.
Roland
Oh,
Rat.
he did indeed.
So that's a good guess, I'd say, for...
Well, it's simply that the BBC have of late made £2 million from video sales of Bill and Ben, and they paid the creator, Hilda Wright,
40
the
quid.
magnificent sum of 3 guineas.
3 guineas.
No.
3 guineas for the whole thing, which is
Yes.
3 original radio stories. She named Bill and Ben after her own brothers, her
You
younger
could say
brothers.
breasts then.
I think the
We
wish...
suffered enough, this woman.
Breasts do kind of go flop it on, I suppose. And when they were naughty, the mother would say, or something bad had happened in the house, was it Bill or was it Ben? And that, of course, was the catchphrase of the programme. Was it Bill or was it Ben? And the little sister Phyllis was Weed. The voice of Bill and Ben, in a language which is called Flobberdob, was a man called Peter Hawkins, who went on to great fame as both a Dalek and a Cyberman. In 1999, he apparently was associate producer on a programme called The Lifestyle, Group Sex in the Suburbs. So he's
That's
moved
where
on.
I remember him from, then, yes.
But where did this language Flobberdob come from? It was their nickname for the sound a fart made in the bath. It literally was a Flobberdob. Now, what does Billy the Kid have in common with Ben Hur? Bill.
Capital B.
I can't really fault you on that.
They have me in common. I know them both. I've been to where Billy the Kid was shot, and I've seen Ben Hur.
Ben Hur's in the Scottish Highlands, isn't it? Ben Hur, it's in the Hollywood range. Ben Affleck, yeah. Glenn Close is nearby. They're all up there.
Do you know who wrote Ben Hur?
Gore Vidal claims to. Yes.
Oh, no, he wrote the screenplay of the film. Who wrote the novel?
When was it written?
It was written in 1880, or published in 1880.
In America.
In the United States of America.
Someone was sitting about and thought, I'm going to write a book about Roman chariot racing.
Yeah. What should he have written about? You shouldn't tell him what. You're writing a book about something that's not particularly close to you. You wanker! Shakespeare writing about Romans.
Well, it's not only about chariot racing, to take another point. There's a lot of other stuff in it.
It's about Christianity, it's about loyalty and betrayal and friendship and all kinds of things. But anyway...
Leprosy,
Yeah.
it's all in
The
there.
phrase, what are you really angry about?
No. The fact the man was called Lew Wallace, who wrote the novel, and he was governor of New Mexico. His connection with Billy the Kid is that he also wrote Billy the Kid's death warrant.
So while he was being governor of New Mexico, he was able to write a best-selling...
Yeah.
It was a warm morning in Rome.
What's all that? What's all that?
Sir, I know, sir.
I thought there's one other thing that just I think is interesting, and involves a staggeringly hideous name drop. I was at the Sundance Film Festival a few years ago, where I had my great good luck to have supper with Robert Redford, and
That's... It's a special little forfeit for Johnny.
Yeah.
Is the lovey alarm.
Exactly.
But carry on. You were having
because
dinner with
I
Robert Redford.
told my very close
call
and
him
personal Bobbity is what he prefers.
Bobbity Bedford.
Bobbity, and as I was toweling him down after our bracing game of shuttlecock, I happened to mention to him that the Sundance Kid, I don't know if any of you know this, was in fact Welsh. Well, the family's stock was certainly Welsh.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us.
He's right stuck up, that Billy the Kid. He's going to come to no good.
Now, to buildings, what happens to your thoughts when you go upstairs?
Gravitationally, I mean, of course, the pressure changes. Your blood varies in its aspect and its circulatory aspect, so your brain becomes less fueled by the blood affected by altitude, and therefore become less clever, and hence hostesses tea, coffee, coffee, tea.
That's a very good answer indeed. Deep physics.
Deep physics.
Deep sort of real theoretical physics.
Your thoughts are
And when the gravity
allowed
is-
to float upwards. They go upwards, suck downwards, they suck downwards. You start thinking about physics when you get...
The answer is they run faster. Everything is faster. You breathe faster, your metabolism is faster, because time is slower the weaker the gravity. Now, talking of going upstairs in buildings, what is the best floor of a building out of which to throw a cat? Blimey, that's impressive.
Lovely mahogany.
The mahogany floor is the best floor. It's the best story of a building with an E.
It's only a guess.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, but I reckon it must be about the 5th floor, something like that. Because if it's too, assuming you're trying to do the cat some harm, which I object to, but if you want to kill the cat, if that's the idea, if it was only the 1st floor, it would survive because they're very springy animals. And if you go too far up, I'm guessing they form a sort of parachute with and they float down. But like the 5th floor would be about right, and they'd be still hurtling, and the parachute effect wouldn't come in.
You're absolutely right. But the fact is we don't want to harm them, we want to be nice to them, we want them to survive.
Oh, well, the very, very high floor, then.
Well, the 7th.
Seventh.
Anything higher than the 7th. They experimented by studying, not by throwing cats out the window. They studied 132 cases of cats falling out of windows in New York. This is the American Veterinary Center. 132 cases of cats
were they
falling or being pushed out of windows and surviving. And the injury rate went up. The average was... The average was from about the 5th floor.
God.
And the higher up you went towards the 5th floor, the more injuries there were. But the moment you got to 7 and past 7, the fewer injuries there were. Because they can reach a terminal velocity, which is 60 miles an hour, from whatever floor, from an aeroplane. Cats have survived. And like a squirrel, they spread themselves out and parachute, as it were, parachute like a squirrel. Out of the 6th floor window, they haven't got time to get to that terminal speed and to get the position right. Exactly.
Have they done this? Have they done this with other animals? Have they done hamsters, dogs?
I'm not sure.
Cows. I'd like to see them do cows.
I fear somehow these cows... There's a man in Shropshire who catapults cows. Yeah. He puts them on a catapult and flies them through the air, hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Does that not harm?
Dead cows.
Oh, dead cows.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. But I would urge people at home not to try it with your cat if you're a young person.
No.
Not because it isn't valuable and scientific, but because of the mad letters I get from cat people every time I mention cat. Do not throw your cats off anything or off a wall or not. Just let them be.
Or at least not from lower than the 7th.
That's the idea. So, general ignorance. What is the commonest material in the world?
Jim Davidson's.
Very good indeed.
You must have a real answer.
No, I can't better that. That was it.
Oxygen.
Yeah, I'm talking about material that's a substance.
What did I say?
Oh, dear.
Oxygen.
Did you say oxygen? No, it's not oxygen.
Damn.
Substance, but material, matter.
Water.
I think it's just matter.
It's perovskite.
Oh, yeah.
Darn it.
God, I had that written down as
That
well.
was on the tip of my tongue.
Named after Count Lev Perovsky, a mineralogist. It's a mineral compound of magnesium, silicon and oxygen, and accounts for about half the total mass of the planet. It's what the Earth's mantle is mostly made from, or so scientists suppose.
So he reckoned he was going to be famous by giving his name to the most common stuff, and no
one's ever heard of it.
No.
He's got such a good name for a scientist who discovered things, and probably had a wonderful accent, just the same as the man who used to go, "Incredible, Tyrannosaurus Rex."
And he said Heinz Wolf.
Yes, it's like Heinz Wolf,
It's
exactly.
a very elegant solution to a problem.
Yes.
It's always like so on, a great. But a little bow tie was yes.
Yes.
Now, what happened to Pompeii in 63 AD? His eyes narrow.
Ah, yes.
I've been to Vesuvius.
Have you? Yes. What happened to Pompeii?
I'm really trying to remember really hard. Is there a time limit? I can't remember if that's when it got covered in lava and everyone died.
It was an earthquake they had before.
Quite right, it was the earthquake. It was destroyed by an earthquake, and they just started to rebuild it when 12, 14 years later...
Oh, I bet the air was blue.
79
when that's
AD.
it went. That's just finished it. Can't believe it. It's all finished.
Yeah. The air was actually black.
Oh, the tiles. I just put the tiles up.
Yes, one of the things that was preserved, they showed almost every household had an extraordinary number of pots of plaster because they were replastering all the
Artexing
houses.
the
and
inside.
Artexing the inside, expecting another
There's a bit of it you can walk across which has got a sulphur crust, which is about that thick. And there are places where it's fallen through.
Is this type of pizza?
And it's going... and it's going bloop, bloop, big
is
bubbles.
extraordinary,
Bloop,
isn't it?
and there are
Yeah.
fences round, and you go across in your school party, and they say, go in pairs, not in big clusters, because you might go through. And don't... They say to you... They say this to school parties from Essex. Don't jump up and down.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Have they never heard of, reverse psychology?
What did you say that for? This is a kid at the back. Certain death.
Oh, Lordy Lord.
So it's going to go again, is it? It's about to...
Well, it's-
yeah.
Supposed
It's
to be,
really overdue.
Yeah.
Massively overdue.
Can you imagine, being an estate agent trying to sell a house and then there's lava coming
Yeah.
to what? Imagine how good you'd have to be to sell the house, even though there's...
Here's the keys, thank you very much.
Yeah, quick sale.
It's not central heating, it's exterior.
Didn't the Phoenicians end... The actual Phoenician civilization ended the same way?
It's a volcano, we're finished.
But while still in Rome, how did Roman emperors order the death of a gladiator? No, well, no, you're right. It was a trap. No, they didn't put their thumbs down. Put their thumbs up.
Take him out and kill him.
Well, this is it.
Hey, gladiator! It is over for you.
It's all that joke about whether it's up or down, but it's life and death to some poor gladiator.
Exactly, they ought to know. I mean, in films, right?
Why do they go like that in the films then?
Well, because we have this up and down idea, and...
So when we go like that, we mean
Yeah.
death to you.
So what was the saving
We don't.
symbol? What was the... what did they have one?
It was called Pollux compressus, where you'd put the thumb, the pollux, in that way, as
So you put
opposed to
little
Pollux infestus.
little
which is
mouth
that way.
and eyes on as well.
Right now, even to this day, though, this is that's the rudest thing you can do in Sicily.
Oh, is it?
Which is why so many hitchhikers are killed. Seriously. You stand by the road going like that, people just go...
Russell Crowe, he's going for the knob there, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. The knob shot.
He's going to bite it off.
And what he's holding is his gladius.
Gladius.
Which is why they're called gladiators. It's a
Yes.
small, flat-ish sword.
Now, were the Romans really the only people who had that kind of men killing each other for sport?
It's a very interesting question. I've never heard of it in the
Other
Chinese culture.
cultures or
Greeks
anything
didn't
like
do it,
that?
did they?
The Greeks didn't do it, no. They had naked wrestling instead, which is much more the thing. Now, what was the name of the organisation that the Americans fought in Vietnam?
The Viet Cong, the Gooks.
You want the proper name of the organisation?
Alan, even I can work out that when you know the answer, never give it, because it's always the one, it's the one they're hoping we'll say. It's...
Gooks and Charlie and Viet Cong are all alike made up by Americans. The word Viet Cong doesn't exist. It was made up by the CIA.
Vietnamese
Popular
People's
Army.
Liberation Front.
Yes, which was known as the...
Vietnamese Popular
PLO,
Army.
PLF, Tooting Popular Front.
The Viet... It's the name of their great hero.
Ho Chi Minh.
Ho Chi Minh. Viet Minh. The
Viet Minh. Ah,
Yes. Have you heard of this before? The Americans gave a huge amount of money to the Viet Minh because at one point they were on the same side.
Who've never heard this happening.
No,
This is
and
ridiculous.
then having armed them to the teeth,
Yes.
the war then ends, and again, a huge historical surprise here, the French surrender, extraordinary, to Ho Chi Minh and in 1954, and that's the end of their rule in Indochina. And suddenly the Americans are fighting them with the weapons they gave them just 10 years earlier.
Well, what is this term Viet Cong? Is that supposed to be a term of abuse, like King
Yes,
Kong or
CIA believed it sounded more kind of menacing and ugly and also associated with communism. It was a Viet Cong
something? Viet
communist.
Minh doesn't sound very good either.
Hello,
does it?
why? You want slippy? No. I'm sorry, I'm a missionary.
Is there a nationality that hasn't been cruelly abused in the course of this?
Lampoon.
It seems not.
So was King Kong, was that his real name, or was it really King Min?
Oddly enough, the Danish for king is Kong, so in Denmark the film is called Kong King.
Kong.
Kong King.
It is called Kong King. Yes, it's time to hold up your work, please.
Look
and
at
to be
my
judged.
buffalo.
Good buffalo. There's a wigwam.
That's
oh,
a tongue.
and there's Johnny's. And it's a cubist wigwam. Yeah. Genuine as an ours.
I misunderstood. I've got wham wigs. This is George Michael and Richie, and they're wearing wigs. What's wrong with that?
Very good indeed. Very good. And what have we got there?
This is William Blake's, God, but God is a white man with a holster on, man, yeah. And the tiny wigwam, these are the red Indians, that's the blue Indian, that's the beige Indian. And this is thunder and stuff,
It's very apocalyptic. I'm sorry that nobody did a wigwam, though.
That's
I did, the wigwam. And
No, that's not a wigwam.
That's
There's a wigwam in
that
the
a
middle of
teepee?
mine.
That's a teepee. You've done teepees.
What's the difference between a teepee and a wigwam?
I'll show you a picture of a wigwam. That's a wigwam.
Oh, wow.
They're very different. That's a wigwam.
It's a haystack.
And they were... That's not very polite to the eastern Native Americans, who that's where they lived. The Plains Indian lived in the old buffalo hide and the sticks poking up,
teepee.
which are teepees.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the scores are? My goodness, we have a clear winner, and we'll go from first to last, I think. Clive, runaway winner with 1 point. Fantastic. Phil second with 0. Johnny third with -10, and way out the back there with -26 is Alan Davis. Well, that's it from QI this week. And so from Clobberlob, Philolob, Jobberlob, and Alan Davis the Lobberlob, and from little me, good night. Good night.